All right, in today's Flip the Classroom lesson, we have section 9.2, and we're talking about percents, and we're talking about proportions. Percents can be written as a proportion, and how we kind of demonstrate that is if we take any fraction, which we're just going to represent this time with a over b, so just like any two numbers, that can be represented as a fraction with a denominator over 100. And so if we're breaking down all these letters, A would be like a part of something. We're going to call that the part. Okay. B would be like the whole. And P would be your percent. So those are the three things we're going to try to find today. The part, the whole, or the percent. And that's going to depend on how the question is being phrased. And so what we have here on our first question, it asks, what percent of 12 is 8? And so the way this question is phrased, that word percent, what percent is being, that's what we're going to be trying to look for there. So what we have is we have A and B, what we don't have is P, okay? So what percent of 12 is 8? So this would represent P, this would represent B, which is the whole, and this would represent A, which is the part. And so we're going to plug that in and then use any of our various methods to solve proportions. So if I plug that in, I have 8 over 12 equals some percent, which we don't know, we're trying to figure that out, over 100. So you could use cross multiply, you could use algebra, you could do pretty much whatever you want, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do cross multiply, where I'm going to have 12p, because that's one of my cross products there. And then I have another cross product, which is 800, or 8 times, whoops, happens to me way too often there, or 800, and then of course we would need to divide both sides by 12, divide both sides by 12, and we would get a percentage value after you divide 800 by 12 of 66 and 2/3%, and if you'd want to leave that in a decimal, it could be 66.6%. Okay, so that's where we went ahead and solved for P. When it's asking you what percent, what we don't know in that is the percentage. We don't know that P value there. Okay, so let's try another one here. Again, so you see that what percent, and so that's going to be P. Sometimes it helps me to actually go ahead and label things. Of 40. Notice that's the bigger number. The whole is always going to be bigger generally than the part. So that's our B value. Sorry for my messy handwriting. That's our A value there. Okay, so again, I'm going to set it up. My part, my whole, and it's always going to be over 100, that percentage, because that's literally, as we said yesterday, that is what percentage means. It means over 100. Okay. If you want to go ahead and reduce this ahead of time to make your number smaller, you're welcome to do that. So if you would want to like rewrite this as 4 going into 16 4 times, and 4 going into 40 10 times, just to make it a little bit easier, now you have equals P over 100. And again, you could use multiple methods. You could do cross multiply and get 10P equals 400, divide both sides by 10, and P would equal 4%. You actually could realize you could do 10 times, I'm sorry, that'd be 40%. 40%. So 10 times 10 to get to 100, 10 times 10 on the top, and P would equal 40 there as well. So that's another method to do it. All right, a few more. Let's see if we're getting the hang of it here. So again, you're noticing the what percent type question there. So again, that should tell you you have your P, you have your whole, and then you have your smaller part of the whole. But again, 52 over 400 is going to get you to P over 100. Now you could do, again, cross multiply, or you could realize, oh, I need to divide by 4 here to get to 100, and divide by 4 here to on the top, because again, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and you would get an answer of P equals 13. And again, you're also welcome to do like cross multiplying, where you'd have 400 P equals 5200, and divide both sides by 400, divide both sides by 400, and you would get P equals 13. So again, there's just two ways to go about doing that, whatever way you're more comfortable with. This way was kind of using the equivalent ratios like we did last chapter. Okay. All right, and then last one again, what percent? So you're going to be trying to find the part over the whole equals P over 100, and doing some cross multiplying there, we would have 144P equals 1200. And again, you could divide both sides by 144, and you would have P equals, if you would divide that out, 1200 divided by 144, and you would have 8 1/3%, or 8.3%. And again, you are allowed to have decimals or kind of mixed numbers when we're doing these percentage things. Okay. Now the other thing here is that if it gives you the percentage, then we don't need to solve for that. That means we're going to need to either solve for the part or the whole. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite that equation. And you either have the part, you have the whole, or the percentage. That's what you're trying to find. So they already give us the percentage. That means you should know we're not going to need to solve for that. Okay? And so where that goes in, it's right there over that P. And so now the question is, at a banquet, 65% of those attending ordered chicken. If 120 people attended the banquet, how many ordered chicken? So 120 in this case is the entire amount of people, or the whole value. We want to know what part, A, of those people actually ordered the chicken. And we also know that 65%, or 65 over 100, ordered the chicken. So now you just see we're just solving for a different thing, and we can go ahead and use cross multiply or algebra or whatever you're more comfortable with. And so one cross product would be 100A, and from this cross multiply here, right? And 120 times 65 equals 7,800, which that kind of makes a nice easy division algebra problem here, where A would equal 78. Of course, it's a story problem, so we should label it with people out of the 120 ordered chicken. So that's an example where we are solving for the part, which would be the A value there. Our next one is 40 is 80% of what number? So again, that should tell you right away, that's going to be your P value. when what number comes at the end, you can kind of be as simple as that's going to be your whole, or your base is what we'll call that. And this is going to be your part. So we know our part, we know our percentage, what we don't know is our whole, okay? And so we can plug it in, 40 over B, because we don't know the base or the whole part of it, but we know our percentage. So again, a little cross products. We're dividing both sides by 80, which would give us a final answer of 4,000 divided by 80, which would be B equaling 50. Okay, and so if you plug that back in, 40 over 50 does give you a percentage of 80%. If you would turn 40 over 50 into a percentage, it would equal 80. So that's an example where you're trying to find the base or the whole. Okay, and so here's one more part where, whoops, going all over the place here. 14 is 56% of what number? So again, the part kind of comes first. You have your p-value, and then you have your whole, which normally when we ask what number, that's going to be our variable. So we have 14 over b equals 56 over 100. So we have 56b, one cross product, and then 14 times 100 is 1400. And so again, kind of get the repetition here, hopefully. And if you would take 1400 divided by 56, you would get a nice even, not even, but nice whole number of 25. And our last, again, part, it helps me to label here our percentage and our whole for our base. So again, 9 over b equals 45 over 100. 45b, and again, I like to use cross products. Divide both sides by 45. Hopefully you're getting the routine by now. And if you take 900 divided by 45, you get 20. I want to do one more example here that's not written out for you, that you can go ahead and write out on your own. It's another finding the parts example, and you'll notice kind of where that what number phrase comes in. So if you did what number is 14%, little student interruption there, sorry about that. What number is 14% of 350? So now notice where that what number part comes in. It comes in at the beginning. So now what we don't know is our part. We still know our percentage, but now we were given the base, or the b value. So again, it's just similar. It's just we don't know. We just are solving for different things every time. So again, you'll just notice kind of where everything goes in here. So again, you could use cross products. 100A equals 14 times 350, which is 4,900. Divide both sides by 100, and this one kind of works out nicely again, where you have A equal 49. Okay, so that would be an example of finding, of finding the part. I'm not going to try to write it. Finding the part. Okay, so hopefully you're able to get all that. and we will go over it more in class tomorrow.